Welcome to Rodney Veals Inspired By, a production of Public Media Connect, the regional partnership of CET in Cincinnati and Think TV in Dayton. Rodney Veal, our host for this podcast, is an independent choreographer, interdisciplinary artist, and all-around fan of all things arts and creativity, and he's excited to share another great conversation with you. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoy the show, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm Rodney Veal, the host of Rodney Veals Inspired By podcast. And today I'm going to have a fantastic conversation with Dana Wiley, who is the namesake of owner of the Dana Wiley Gallery that has a location at Front Street Art Studios and at the Gather by Ghostlight space in the arcade. There's the Dana Wiley Gallery space there. Dana is amazing and super cool, and I've had the good fortune of being able to have my work shown in her gallery and also do a little dancing. So anytime that can happen, I'm always on board, and someone who allows it to happen is just super cool. So she's one of the coolest people in town. So Dana, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Rodney. This is super exciting. I'm a little nervous, I won't lie, but I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, you shouldn't be nervous. We talk all the time. It's all good. It's just a conversation. It's no big deal. It's just Rodney. It's no big deal.
Normally I'm on the other side of the microphone. So this is great.
This is super cool. I love it. Dana, it feels like this is your life moment, but it's like, go back to the beginning. Like, what was your life trajectory like before the gallery happened? Like as that now is taking over your life in so many ways, but in such a good way. So what was your life like before the gallery? What was your life going to be before this gallery? So kind of curious.
Well, yeah. I mean, I really started out, I married at a young age and, raised my children. And then at a certain point, I knew, as I had known all along, that I wanted to get into art. And as a child, I always gravitated towards that. I loved it. I mean, it didn't really matter what it was, whether it was visual or performing or music or whatever that was. It was just in my, heart. It was in my soul. So I knew that that's where I needed to go. And I felt like I was in a good place to do that. I kind of had I'd gotten to a certain age where it was like, wait a second, I am really not getting any younger here. What am I waiting on? And I could kind of see that, I had gotten further and further away from that goal. And I was kind of unsure how I was going to make that happen, to be quite honest with you. So I just decided to take one step at a time and enroll in school, as I had, really always thought that I should. And I started taking a couple of classes at Sinclair and then graduated, and then found myself at Wright State and graduated with my, bachelor's in fine art. And I can be honest, wasn't quite sure what the next step was. And then had the opportunity to share a studio space down at Front Street. And at that point, that was 2017. I graduated in 2016. And I had taken probably a year and a half to just kind of focus on my work, thinking, okay, I might go and try to get my master's. That seemed to be the logical next step. But then I got down here, and for me, it was about, I missed that community connection, that connection to the other artists and bouncing off ideas and all of that. And I thought Front Street would be, would kind of fill that void. So I just really kind of focused on my work, tried to just dive into the community, and was given the opportunity to curate a show. And Rodney, I just really loved that. I felt like I could immerse myself into, the arts and the arts community here in Dayton. So that's kind of where it all started.
I love it. I love the fact that and I can speak from experience, so that you are so caring and so passionate about the presentation of the artist's artwork. It's almost like having someone who's like, I've got your back. It's like you just, and so I think that's a part of your personality as well, that you are a very caring nurturing person. And I think that kind of helps. Do you think so that notion of being excited, what is it about like putting up a gallery show that gets you? I mean, because you are really into it. I mean, I'm like, you had questions
Well,
and ideas bigger than mine. I was like, oh no, it's art. Okay. I, you really, you were more concerned and compassionate about my work than I was.
oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
well, I mean, I think that there is a responsibility. I do feel that responsibility when I have an exhibition and I have artists, and I do want to be able to showcase their art in the very best way that I know how and that I can. And so when I have an artist and I try to talk to them and we really try to plan the show, and for me it's my way of staying creative as well. It's the planning of the show and putting it together and the placement of the pieces and all those things, all those different elements that I believe are so crucial in presenting that artwork, creating that environment that is, it's all about facilitating that relationship when the viewer comes in and gets to see the artwork. That's I feel like that's really important. And so, I am in love with when people come into the gallery and they're a reaction. There's a reaction. Sometimes it's great. Maybe sometimes it's not so great. I don't know, but I love that. I love it when people can look at a piece of artwork and they can see it and they have the opportunity to have a reaction, whatever that may be. And so I do feel that sense of duty there. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's my own, just my own thing. Like that's just what I do. But I do find that important. And I think in visual arts here in Dayton, we have, as you know, Rodney, we have so many wonderful, great, gifted artists that have really just dedicated and devoted their lives to this art form. And so it is, it is a responsibility. I mean, and I get to, this is just sort of how I can be of service in the community. It's something that I can do to give back. I kind of felt I wasn't ready to go out as an artist. I didn't feel like I had found my voice yet. So, while I am doing this and showcasing other people's art, I am in the background, trying to work on my own and still trying to have that connection because I think you have to, that just kind of, it's just so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, it is so important because like you said, you're. I love that you're saying like you're finding your voice. Meanwhile, you're helping other people to amplify and display their voice, which has got to be. It's kind of in many ways. It's kind of like a private sort of boost and pick me up to be in other artists' worlds and visions
Oh yeah.
and to
Oh
inform
yeah.
your own. So yeah, so
Oh
it's got to be pretty
yeah.
cool. I mean, because we as a viewer see it, but we don't. I mean, you're touching. It's tactile. It's considering so many other things, and so I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I am very, very fortunate that I get to go and connect with other artists where I can go into their studio and I can see where they make art and I can hear their stories and I get to benefit from their experience. So I'm just extremely fortunate. This just, like I said, when I had this opportunity, it just kind of clicked, it just made so much sense. And I knew kind of when I was very young, I knew that it was just always this vision in my head, this kind of, trajectory that I was going to be going in this way. And so it just made so much sense for me. It's not to say that there hasn't been struggles, certainly challenges, things like that. When you're kind of out there in the community, your name is on the door. So, there's really nowhere to hide. I've certainly made my share of mistakes. for sure.
I think I mean, Dana, we've all in this journey, when your name is out there, I totally get it. Yeah,
Yes, yes, as you know, as you
it's a
know.
real thing. Yeah, it's a real thing. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a lot writing on. So, I
it
mean, I mean,
is.
yeah, but you handle the pressure really well. I mean, I get the sense that
Mm,
you're very grounded, and that's, it's not, it's so steady and it's so grounded, and but it's just, I can, that warmth of like, okay, I know she gets it. I know
mm,
she's thinking 5 steps ahead of me as an artist, because she's thinking about all those things that you just talked about, plus what the artist is thinking about. And then I'm
mm.
kind of curious about this one part of it, because a lot of people, think about a gallery, they think it's glamorous work, and I kind of want to. Can you just spill the glamour? There's no glamour to this putting up artwork. Talk about that anti-glamour moment.
That's hilarious that you bring it up, because I remember when I first started, I was putting up the work, and then I was looking around and I was like, oh yeah, the floors need to be swept and mopped, and so there was a moment where I had the bucket and the mop, and I'm cleaning the floor, and I wanted to take an image, a photo in that moment of the glamorous life of a gallery owner. It's not. It really isn't. It's just, you kind of wear a lot of different hats, and you kind of do what needs to be done. And in that moment, the floor need to be scrubbed. So that's what you do. It really is, you're kind of looking around and assessing the situation, and you're just trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? What's the next thing? There have been many late nights. There are times when you're kind of fighting the clock a little bit, and so you're putting in at least 12, 14, sometimes 16-hour days, trying to make sure that the exhibition works. Again, there's that responsibility, so you just kind of have to put the work in. And yeah, so there's a lot of things about it that it's just about making sure that the exhibition, you're doing your best for the artist and for the community. But yeah, no, it's not glamorous.
I
It's
can only
definitely
imagine.
not glamorous.
Yeah, that, because I can see a lot of people thinking, that image that they see in media, and they see, oh look, it's the pristine white box gallery, and we're gonna
Yeah.
dress really cool and funky and avant-garde. I'm like, no, you're not. You're gonna be in some jeans and a t-shirt, mopping a floor.
Yep,
It's
it's
like, good luck to
exactly
you.
right.
Yeah, I I love that. So because I think that's kind of important, especially for our listeners, because the show is about, I always think about the podcast and the art show. It's about showing the world, the art world, all the aspects of it, and even the behind the scenes. And so, what would be the most surprising behind the scenes thing that happens in a gallery that a lot of people don't realize, that might kind of surprise them?
The most surprising thing. So I think for me, it probably is. I think not necessarily is it surprising. I guess maybe it's more, the most challenging thing for me is how much you have to kind of be out. And maybe that's just because I'm the owner, but that there is so many different hats that you wear. There is so many different things that you have to do. You are your own accountant. You are your own. You have to do your own promotion, your own marketing, all of these things. I don't think that when I started, I realized how many different areas that I would have to become, an expert in, or at least have some sort of knowledge. I think that I really didn't quite understand all of the different areas that I would have to become skillful in, especially, I think when I started, I didn't think I was going to have to be front and center. I thought I was going to be behind the scenes. I thought I was going to be just hanging the work, and I would be talking to the artist, and it would be, but there are a lot of moments when you are out front, such as today, when you have to really talk about the gallery, and talk about what you do. And I think that was probably, even though that may be a no-brainer for other people, for me it was sort of, I think, startling. Maybe I didn't think about that. So, yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question, Rodney, but that I think was the most, yeah, challenging for me.
Like how out front? I mean, I
Yeah.
like you said, you kind of know you would be, but not. I mean, this is you are all over town, Dana. I mean, but I understand it. I think that's why I love having this conversation with you because I understand just how much work it takes for that part that people don't consider, which about a gallery space. And one of the things is it's really interesting. I always think we've talked about this, the ecosystem of the arts, especially in this community. We don't have a lot of gallery space that is
Mm, mhm.
privately owned gallery spaces for showing, for presenting work. What's that? I mean, we can name a handful of gallery spaces like you and Ed Dixon. I'm losing names on the others, but I do know they exist. So do not write letters saying, "How dare you forget us?" but but there's, I know you exist. I'm aware, but there's a, th- I think it's a necessary part of the ecosystem. And I like, do you think that people don't understand the purpose and the role of a gallery other than opening night and there's wine and free crackers and cheese? Not that I said that as a condemnation.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we do our share of wine and crackers, but I do think it's that it was one of the reasons why I thought that it was one of those moments where it did click because even though I only maybe dipped my toe into the community at that point, I could see that there wasn't a lot of spaces where you could present the work in the way that I would present the work. There are a lot of studios and a lot of artists in their studios, and the work is fantastic, but the work is kind of it's everywhere and it's on the ground, and it just needed a space, and so I did feel like there was a bit of a void here in Dayton, and I do think that people who especially people who may not know a lot about the arts, they come into this space and they may not understand, okay, so what is your role here, what are you doing, you know is this your work? That's what I hear quite often is this your work? And then I explain, no, I'm just I'm hosting this artist, this is my gallery, and I give them the whole spiel. So I think a lot of people didn't quite understand that, and then it, it's not that artists certainly can't exhibit their own work. That happens all the time. But what I feel like, if so, I've never had an exhibition. But what I think I would feel is, listen, I just want the artist to focus on their work, focus on creating, and not have to worry about, okay, do I have to get printed materials? Do I have to do this? Do I have to do that? Do I have to, how am I going to hang this? That's my role. That's a responsibility that I can take on. I can take on the promotion. I can take on the marketing. I can take on these other things because, again, Rodney, as you know, when you're an artist or when you have your own business, you have to do all of those things. And so for me, this is just, again, another way for me to be able to kind of be of service. I can take on all those kinds of responsibilities in that role. So I think that's why I think it's important. Like you said, there's only a handful of galleries around here. I don't know if there needs to be more, if there needs to be less. I'm not really sure, but I do think that it's important to be able to have these spaces where the community can come in, and it's not just that we show the art, but we talk about art. We have our panel discussions and we have our art talks, and we have our workshop. So people can come into this space and not only see the work, but they can experience it. They can hear the artists talk about their artwork. There's all those elements that we provide as well. So I think that that's maybe, you know, why we have art galleries,
No, I totally get that. I totally agree, and I actually understand that. I mean, it's like this notion of, because you and I both meet lots of artists, and I meet a lot of artists in different realms. It is the daunting task. It's daunting for some people to stand up and talk about their work. It is daunting to be that front person.
yeah.
There's anxiety. I mean, you're talking about
hmm
introverts, extroverts, we talk about that. And so a lot of artists are very introverted. They're very shy. They're not
Oh
it's
yes.
almost crippling
hmm
to the ability to actually get to the place. And you're providing a safe space for them to kind of, whew.
Hi, I'm Mike Shea, Communications Specialist for Think TV and the producer of this podcast. Thank you for listening to Rodney Veals Inspired By. This podcast is a production of CET and Think TV, two local PBS stations. As PBS stations, the work we do online, on air, and in the community is supported by listeners like you. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support our work, please consider becoming a member at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Plus, when you sign up to donate at least $5 a month, you'll get access to special members-only streaming videos on the PBS app through Passport. Learn more at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
And so there's another thing with people, like when I joke about people coming for the wine and cheese and crackers, which you do provide. But I'm kind of curious about that people have this stigma about the inaccessibility of galleries. Like, it's like, oh, it's daunting. Like, it's almost, I don't know what that is. You know what I'm saying? Like, people get a little
Oh yeah.
intimidated.
Yeah. I think so. I think that's the word, intimidated. I think they're hesitant to ask any questions because there seems to be this notion that excuse me, there's an art speak, there's jargon, there's things like that they probably think that they need to know, and so yeah, I've had people who come in and you can tell they're tentative. They don't know whether they can approach. They don't know what to say. They're just they're a little uncomfortable. So I certainly can't get to everybody, but I do try to have to create the opportunity for people to come in and talk or ask questions, and just have a kind of a relaxed atmosphere. I hope, and this has never been what, and maybe I should, Rodney, but I really try to have it's a kind of a low sale. There's not a whole lot of. I'm not going around and asking people if they want to buy. I'm not.
Right, right.
It's low pressure. So for me, it really is about having an educational element, being able to provide that space where people can come in and maybe know a little bit more about art. And this is my whole thing. Why art matters. Why does it matter?
Yeah.
And have that discussion with them, because maybe I understand that not everybody has the passion about art that we in the arts community have. I get that. So it's really about establishing the value. And I think that's another reason why we try very hard to have the type of exhibitions that we have. It all has to be about the art. It all has to be, what works, what we feel. So I have to, when I go into people's studios and we're discussing the potential to have an exhibition, I have to look at the artwork, and there has to be a connection for me, so that it starts right there. And I have gone into people's studios and there isn't a connection, and I would be doing them a disservice if I said, oh sure, let's have an exhibition anyway. But so it starts right there, I think, and then putting these shows together and putting it out on the walls, and then just again, you're trying to create the value. I do think that there's a whole discussion, and maybe not today, but a whole discussion about the value of visual arts and why it's so important to have that here in our community. So for me, there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different reasons I feel like there is. I don't want to say anybody puts any pressure on me. It's the pressure that I put on myself, but it is important to have, a respectable show.
No, but the thing is, this is the place to have that conversation about the value of art, which I love because I'm just saying that, like, Dana, this is because I think people don't understand. Like, there has to be an understanding that this having art and culture is a reflection of our humanity, our collective consciousness, our
Oh,
connectivity. And so to have all of these different voices manifest themselves, whether through be painting or collage work or assemblage, photography, multimedia, whatever, art, music, it doesn't, it all comes together to kind of point and showcase and highlight, that we, the reason why we get up in the morning. I mean,
right,
and so that there's another value proposition other than I get up to go to a job to make a paycheck. Here is
right.
maybe another reason why to get up in the morning, that I get to go and embrace and experience art. I mean, sounds lofty, but it's not lofty. I mean, I think it's, that's why we were artists as cavemen and women painting on
Right,
walls. I mean, there's a reason we wanted to say something. We had stuff to say. So one of the things that
exactly.
I love the fact that you're that the personal connection. Well, it's really, I love that you say that, because I think that that's important. You could just you could showcase any artist you like just for the sake of showing them, but does that doesn't make it special. That doesn't make it. I hate to use the word
Mm.
curate, because that's not what it is. It's just you can
Oh,
sense when you walk into space, like there's love here. There's a love for the
oh,
process. There's a love for the artist.
oh,
I'm
wow.
fanboying out. I mean, and I sense that, and I mean, I'm lucky to be able to say that from my own personal experience, and that that's got to be extremely. I mean, because it is like you figured out the mission of what you're doing fits exactly who you are, versus
Mm,
it's not. What I'm saying? Like that's got to be extremely satisfying, because that's a lot of people don't realize. You got to match your mission, and what you do has to
exactly.
match who you are.
Well, yeah, otherwise that's exhausting. That's a lot of extra energy that you're putting into something. So I do, and thank you. I mean, I really do appreciate that, Rodney. Sometimes you can't, you get so close to things that you can't really see, am I projecting that mission? Am I doing that? Sometimes you kind of don't know, but it is about it, and I don't know. I don't want to sit here and project that I figured it out, because I can tell you, Rodney, I am still, I'm still getting my feet wet. I'm still learning so much, but I can tell you, really, from my gut, it has to be about the art. You have to have that connection with it. There have been, I would say, many times, or not many times, there have been so many times that I am in love with the artwork that I have in the exhibition. And I know that when there have been moments when it doesn't feel authentic, wow, it's just not good. It doesn't feel good. It's just heavy. It's just not. And I know that, I've talked to so many people along the way, and there is this sort of, I guess, philosophy that, Dana, you are a retail gallery. You need to make money. You need to make money. And I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I like a paycheck just like anybody else.
Anyone else?
But I feel like I don't know if I just decide, okay, I am chasing the money, I'm chasing the artists that are have a certain, I don't know what you want to call it. Anyway, I feel like that it's just not going to work. You know what, I firmly believe that if you start off, I think, connecting to a mission and staying true to that mission, I think those things will happen. The, excuse me, it will be successful. Financially, maybe not, but I do think that people will come into the gallery and they will have the opportunity to have that reaction. And in that, I'm successful. So I think, I don't know. I mean, I've had this conversation with Gary Hinchy, who is my business partner here at Front Street, and we've had hundreds of conversations about this. And we both, we disagree on other things, but on this we can both agree. It starts with the art.
Love it. Well, then, what I love about that is you talk about conversations. I don't think people realize that artists, we sit around and talk a lot about art and art making and the art world we live in. Yeah, I mean, we really
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
It
Yes.
is. I mean, it's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I mean, I think people do really understand. I think that's, to me, that's the nice thing about this podcast is this demystification, this kind of pull back the curtain, and so that understanding, you got to have this dialogue. You got to also have the especially in these very fraught social times, and that's my only political comment we'll make ever. That you can respectfully disagree, but there's a baseline agreement. The art comes first.
Yeah.
We may,
Yeah.
and so I think that's important for people to know, and I think that's really important for young art makers to understand that you're entering in explain to people why it's important for an artist to establish a relationship with other folks like yourself, gallery owners, in the arts ecosystem. Why is it important to have that kind of connective thread?
Well, I would say for those who are new in our community, I would say a couple of things. One is absolutely connect, maybe even more so than with a gallery. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but I think it's with the art community, and the galleries are part of the arts community. But it's extremely important to be able to have these conversations. I value these conversations that I have with other artists. They have a wealth of knowledge. They have so much experience. And not only that, they understand that when you first start out, you don't know a lot. And that's okay. It's fine. You're learning. There's this journey that you're going through, and you're gathering all this information, and really just stick with it. All you have to do is one foot in front of the other. That's it. Just get in the studio. Just make a piece of art. That's all. I feel like that's what, that's the advice that I was given. Just don't worry about 10 steps ahead. Just get involved in an arts community, in a studio, if you can, and connect with these other artists. And I think that you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to find that there's opportunities that you would not have known about were you not in the community. And I think what the gallery does for those is, this is what we did this last summer, is I sort of collaborated with Wright State University. We had an exhibition that was called Bridge, Connect and Support. And it was all about having an exhibition with either like seniors or people who had just graduated, or some alumni from Wright State, that we could introduce them to that gallery experience, introduce them to Front Street and the arts community. That is very important. I think it is a responsibility that we who are a little bit more established in the community need to remember to reach back out and bring others along and bring them into our community. So I think that that's really important.
Oh, super cool. So one of the things we always ask people in the podcast is about pursuing this career or this pathway. I wouldn't say career because it just sounds so corporate. It's like the pathway, the path. What would be your advice to someone who wants to, they're in the art scene and they're not quite sure where their footing is, but they kind of sense that they could be a gallery, not necessarily owner, but someone who maybe a gallerist or a curator. What would be your advice to them about curating? Because that's a special skill. I mean, I feel like, what would you tell them?
I would say to them, maybe volunteer at a gallery, at an art gallery. Maybe, if it's a student, maybe do an internship if they're interested in maybe that type of work. I can't say that I necessarily did. I mean, well, no, I'm very wrong about that. I did an internship at DVAC at the time. It was DVAC. And I did learn a lot there working. I did everything, from hanging to sweeping to, all of it. And it was a great experience. And I really appreciated, I learned a lot. So I would say anybody who is maybe thinking they want to go into that field, I would say definitely volunteer. I mean, I don't know an art gallery out there who wouldn't appreciate some extra help and to be able to, just share their experience. So yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, I think you have to sort of, and this is true, I think, of anything in any field, in any line of work. You just kind of have to search your soul and see if this is, the right path for you. And sometimes, so yeah, that's what I would say. Get into an art gallery, volunteer.
That's super cool. So I'm gonna ask this question because I know it's probably unfair to ask. It's not like picking your favorite child, but but has there been a gallery experience that you've had at like an exhibition that, for personal reasons, that really just spoke to you? You were just like, wow, this is pretty cool. Is there one? I mean, as like I said, it's like I said, picking your favorite child. Which I totally,
Yeah.
I totally get.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, we've had so many. And you know what? I find myself every time we put up a new show thinking, "Oh man, this is one of my favorites. This might be my favorite." I'm always like, it's always like, "Wow, this is so I love this." I'm getting the gallery ready. We have an opening this Friday, and so I'm in love again. I'm in love with this next exhibition. But to really answer your question, it was the Alzheimer's fundraiser that we did, and that was
Wow.
such an experience to be able to host that. We connected with an artist, Karen Fisher. She's local. She also lives in the Denver area as well. And we were able to connect probably about half a dozen artists into these memory care facilities, working with the residents there that were living with dementia, some form of dementia or the Alzheimer's. And we were able to just kind of have the artists sit with the residents there, and they, were able to make a connection with them, having them create a watercolor and just talking with them. And in those moments, it felt for the artists that these residents were able to have a little bit more. There was something that happened, and I don't know, I can't explain it, but there was something that happened where the residents, their language increased. They kind of came out of it, I would say, where there was something about the process of painting. There was something about the connection that they had with the artist across from them. There was something in those moments that kind of drew them out of whatever this is. And we were able to kind of take all of these watercolors and then invite, and as you know, we were able to invite other artists to come in and pick out one of these watercolors and do a pairing. And then we were able to display those pairings and have a fundraiser. And it was, for me, it was a profound moment because I was able to, again, connect with so many people who had, unfortunately, had this experience with a family member or somebody that they knew that had Alzheimer's or dementia or some form of dementia, something. And it really made me understand how pervasive this disease is in our community. So for us to be able to do something to give back in that way was amazing. And from a personal, from my own personal experience at the time, my mother had dementia, and so we were dealing with this very thing in our own family. So of course, when I was talking to Karen, what has it been, 4 or 5 years ago, when we first talked about this, it was just, again, it was that click. Yeah, that made so much sense. And we had so many people that helped support us during that. Just so many people who lent their talents and their time, because it was a connection for them. So that probably it has to be, you know, certainly from a personal perspective, it was maybe the most profound.
Wow. Yes, I do remember. Yes, because I
Yeah.
do remember submitting to work.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Thank
I do
you
remember.
so much for that.
No, because no, it was totally my pleasure. It was an honor because that's a whole. I think because you said it correctly. We are touched by all aspects of life, and not and some of the things that are unfortunate and things that we are mysterious and we don't understand. And there was an ability for everyone who came to see the exhibition and see the fundraiser to kind of understand we're all in this together. Like it was like that to me was what I took away from it. It was like, this is it's bigger than us. And so it was very profound.
Yeah.
It was very moving. I was like, yeah, it touched that sense of personal activism in myself. I was like, yes, people, support community, like connect with people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and for me, it was, this is why art matters. This right here. That's the reason, because you can create something, and bring it out, and that becomes bigger than, you as an artist in your studio. It becomes so much more. And I thought that was like art at its highest purpose. And I just really was, I was really, it was important for me to be able to, again, just have that in our space, in our gallery. And, I hope at some point that we'll be able to do that again. Like I said, we had so many people who helped make that happen. But it is quite the undertaking. It was a lot. So
it was,
but yeah, no.
It was satisfying. Yeah.
No, it was amazing. And my mom has since passed, and it was just, I felt like, when somebody has this disease, you feel so helpless. There is nothing really that there's nothing that you can do. But this, I felt like I was able to do something. But yeah, so.
Wow. Yeah, that's the whole thing. And that's because I think there's a humanity to every part of the arts ecosystem and the arts. And I think if the more that we expose that, the more that that the other stuff fades away, like the art speak, and you have to dress up to go see a performance, and there's etiquette involved in doing, I can't afford to buy my art. I mean, you can afford to buy art. I mean, and I think that's a part of it, which is, I know that you don't always, it's probably the antithesis of what a gallery should be talking about is not money, but it's letting people know that you can have art in your home and you can have a personal connection to that art, and it doesn't have to be something that you bought, I mean, in a commercial retail shop that was mass produced. It's something, you can have things that speak to you without it being, I don't know, I don't want to use the word. There's a word I want to use, but I can't use it. I won't do it. I won't do it, Dana.
That's a shame. That's a shame,
It's a shame.
Rodney.
I won't use it. I won't use the word. But what would you say to people like who think, I can't afford art? Because there have been things in your gallery. There are different price points. I think there's a way.
Exactly.
I mean, there's a will, there's a way. So demystify the buying of art, because I think people don't understand that.
Oh yeah, I mean, we do, just like you said, we do have different price points in the gallery, and we work with the client with if you really want that piece of artwork, we will make that happen. I have had people come in and they're on a year payment plan. I don't care. For me, it doesn't matter. If you want that piece of artwork, we're going to work with you. We do have, I think, affordable, especially, like I said, we'll do a payment plan with you. We also offer, there are times when we have discounts, things like that. So if there is a piece of artwork that really speaks to a viewer, we will definitely make that happen because, again, it sounds, but I know that there have been pieces that have come through here that I really would love to have. And I think, okay, I can't afford it. But you know what? I've talked with the artists. Most artists, they want to work with you. They want to work with the client. They want you to have their artwork. For them, they've made it. And it brings them so much joy to see the artwork or to know that it's in somebody's home and somebody else is getting joy from it. So yeah, all parties involved, we can make it happen.
All right, I love that, and like I said, you're a very personable person. You are just a joy to be around. So, Dana,
Thank you, Rodney.
This has been a delight. I mean, as always, because just for our viewers to know, Dana and I have some things cooked up at the station and the art show. Stay tuned for those things that are coming. But yeah, it's all in service of our common goal, and that's that people should enjoy and embrace art. So thank you for being that person and advocate in our community for art.
Oh, it has really been my pleasure and my honor. So thank you, Rodney.
Rodney Veals Inspired By is a production of Public Media Connect, the regional partnership of CET in Cincinnati and Think TV in Dayton. There's a lot of great art happening around Southwest Ohio, and we're excited to be part of it. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can learn more and find the show notes at thinktv.org/inspiredby or cetconnect.org/inspiredby. Thank you.